Hey there. I have a vintage US knife to share this time, and you know how I like a story with my knives, and boy does this knife have a great story. This is a World War II military knife. Specifically, it's an Ulster US Army 10th Mountain Division knife, also sometimes referred to as the Devil's Brigade knife. And I'm not an expert in World War II history or military knives, so I've got some notes here to share some information with you. But these were issued to the troops of the original 10th Light Division Alpine, later redesignated just the 10th Mountain Division, from like 1943 to 1945. They were located at Camp Hale in Leadville, Colorado, in the Rocky Mountains, so they could be trained for fighting in mountain terrain. And they went on to fight in the mountains of Italy and southern France and had great successes. But out of this division came the 1st Special Services Force, sort of the forerunner to today's Army Rangers. And it was comprised of both Americans and Canadians, which was a first. And they trained at Fort William Henry Harrison in Helena, Montana, and were trained to parachute and rappel and mountain climb, ski, be proficient with the enemy's weapons, just all kinds of cool things. They were also trained to fight at night, and they would blacken their faces when they did that. And they fought so ferociously that the Germans referred to them as Black Devils, hence the name the Devil's Brigade. So really cool. They even made a movie about the Devil's Brigade. There's a 1968 movie starring William Holden and Cliff Robertson and a host of other well-known stars at the time called The Devil's Brigade. So I'll put links to that movie and to the Wikipedia pages on the U.S. Army 10th Mountain Division and the Devil's Brigade Special Services Force, if you'd like to go and read and learn more about those. Okay, so looking at this specific knife, again, it is an Ulster. It is a 5-bladed knife. I'll go through the tools here in just a second, but it's noteworthy to say that it's all steel construction. The liners, the separators, and even the bolsters. It makes for a very sturdy knife. Makes for one that's very prone to rust too, which I'll show you in a minute. But, you know, during World War II, the brass was being conserved for munitions casings. So you don't often see brass in a World War II era pocket knife. Now, these specific Ulster 10th Mountain Division knives will have a innovative tool at the time. A little short inline Phillips driver. Phillips screwdrivers were pretty new at the time, and so this was kind of new tech. And this was included in the pocket knife so that the troops could adjust their ski bindings. The other characteristic of these military knives is they're all going to have a bail. There may have been some civilian versions with this 5-blade combination and the Phillips driver, but they would not have a bail. And in this variety, the bail is stamped on the end, US. Now, there are 3 varieties of this knife as far as I know. One like mine that I'm getting ready to show you. I think it was about the 2nd variety, because the 1st variety looked kind of just like a civilian knife that they took a bail, flat bail like this, and they welded a Phillips head driver tip right here on the end of the bail. Kind of a quick stopgap measure, I guess, to get the Army something with a Phillips driver. I'll put in a picture of that. Those are really rare. You don't see them very often, and I think a lot of them had the bail broken off because it's just absolutely a terrible idea. You can see as if you would torque the knife, it would break the bail, and also you've got this floppy action. So I don't think it was very long until they came out with the Phillips in the end like this. Now, this one has the old style single piece can opener with the little knob there. It's very similar to Ulster's Boy Scout knives. And that's the difference between this variety and the 3rd variety. The 3rd variety has pretty much the same layout, but it has a safety can opener. Another slight difference that I think I've noticed is that while this knife has 4 pins on the front and just 3 on the back, The third variety has 3 pins front and back. Okay, so let's just walk through the rest of this knife. The main blade is a spear point blade. I'm sorry, it's a clip point blade on these. There you can see it. I think mine is about 1/8 of an inch short. All the blades and tools are carbon steel. And the tag stamp, this is the only other marking on this knife, reads Ulster Knife Co. I don't know if we can see it here too well, but at the bottom third line is USA. And there's nothing on the reverse. They came with a punch, with no markings. And as I've shown you also, the can opener and the Phillips driver. And then another blade up front was a sheep's foot blade. Now, mine had a broken tip when I got it. It's kind of chipped off right here at the edge of the sheep's foot. I'll put in a picture of that. So I decided when I sharpened the edge that I would just go ahead and sharpen the chip. And it actually worked out really well for me because it made this nice stubby little spear point blade. It's got a great little tip on it, and it's sharp as hell all the way to the edge, to the end. When I got this knife, it was a real rust bucket. And so let me put in some pictures to show you what it looked like before I spent most of a day cleaning it up. So yeah, yuck. And as it said there on one picture, you know, sold to the biggest idiot who thinks he can save every knife out there. I hope you've enjoyed watching this. By the way, you can find this knife and its variants on, I believe, I don't have the book, but I believe on page 107 of the complete book of U.S. military pocket knives. And I also do have images from, I think, a 1945 copy of the 10th Mountain Division's Equipment Guide, which shows this knife, this pocket knife, a standard issue, along with their, you know, jackets, pants, boots, and things like that. Okay, so that's been a look at a rare and I think very interesting piece of American history, the Ulster U.S. Army 10th Mountain Division pocket knife, sometimes referred to as the Devil's Brigade knife. Thanks for watching.